Chequers, England. December 7, 1941. 9 p.m. Winston Churchill sits at dinner, exhausted from another brutal week of war, when his butler enters carrying a small portable radio. The Prime Minister listens to the BBC announcer's voice crackle through static. The Japanese have attacked the American naval base at Pearl Harbor. Churchill freezes mid-sentence. Then, in a moment that will alter the course of human history, he does something no one expects. He smiles. For 2 years and 3 months, Britain has fought Nazi Germany virtually alone. The Blitz has reduced London to rubble. Convoys crossing the Atlantic are being slaughtered by U-boats. The Soviet Union, now Hitler's enemy after Operation Barbarossa, is bleeding millions. The British Empire is financially bankrupt, morally exhausted, and militarily stretched to breaking point. Churchill knows Britain cannot win this war without American intervention. But President Franklin Roosevelt, despite his personal sympathies, is constrained by America's powerful isolationist movement. The Neutrality Acts prevent direct military involvement. Roosevelt has provided Lend-Lease aid, ships, weapons, supplies, but American boys are not dying for European quarrels. Not yet. Churchill has spent 18 months begging, cajoling, and courting Roosevelt. Every speech, every letter, every diplomatic maneuver has been designed to pull America into the war. And every attempt has failed. The attack on Pearl Harbor changes everything in an instant. This is not the moment Churchill hoped for, not this way, not with American sailors drowning in burning oil, but it is the moment he needed. The moment when isolation becomes impossible. When America's war begins. The servants at Chequers, the Prime Minister's country residence, noticed the transformation immediately. Churchill's private secretary, John Martin, later recalls the Prime Minister's exact words, "We have won the war." Martin is stunned. Won? Britain is losing on every front. Singapore is vulnerable. North Africa is a stalemate. The German army stands 30 miles from Moscow. How can Pearl Harbor, a catastrophic American defeat, mean victory? But Churchill's strategic mind has already calculated the equation. Hitler's fate was sealed, he will write in his memoirs. Mussolini's fate was sealed. As for the Japanese, they would be ground to powder. Not because of what happened at Pearl Harbor, but because of what must inevitably follow. The sleeping giant has been struck. America, with its bottomless industrial capacity, its 130 million citizens, its untapped military potential, will now enter the war with total commitment. At 9:15 p.m., Churchill telephones Roosevelt at the White House. The conversation is brief, almost formal. "Mr. President, what's this about Japan?" Churchill asks, though he already knows. Roosevelt confirms the attack. "We are all in the same boat now," the president says. Churchill replies with calculated restraint, "This certainly simplifies things. God be with you." He replaces the receiver. What Churchill does not say, cannot say over an open telephone line, is what he is thinking. The war is no longer about survival. It is now about victory. Total, crushing, inevitable victory. The industrial might of America will bury the Axis powers under an avalanche of steel, ships, and soldiers. It is only a matter of time. But Churchill's relief is not shared by everyone at Chequers. His scientific advisor, Frederick Lindemann, sits across the dinner table looking grim. Lindemann understands the mathematics of naval warfare. 8 American battleships have been sunk or damaged at Pearl Harbor. The USS Arizona is gone, entombing 1,177 sailors. The Pacific Fleet, America's primary deterrent against Japanese expansion, has been crippled in a single morning. Japan now has free reign across Southeast Asia. Singapore, Malaya, Burma, India, all are vulnerable. Britain's Eastern Empire is about to collapse. Churchill waves away Lindemann's concerns. The Japanese have made a strategic blunder, he insists. They have woken a sleeping tiger. But privately, even Churchill recognizes the immediate danger. Japan's attack means Britain will now face a two-front war in Asia and Europe simultaneously. Resources will be stretched even thinner. British and Australian troops will die defending rubber plantations in Malaya and oil fields in Burma. At 10:30 p.m., Churchill retires to his study and begins drafting a declaration of war against Japan. The document is carefully worded. Churchill does not wait for Parliament to convene. He does not consult the War Cabinet. He acts unilaterally, knowing that every hour's delay sends the wrong signal to Washington. By midnight, the declaration is complete. Britain will formally enter war with Japan within 24 hours, standing shoulder to shoulder with America before Roosevelt even addresses Congress. It is a calculated political gesture. Churchill wants Roosevelt to know, Britain is America's ally, without hesitation, without conditions, without delay. That night, Churchill sleeps soundly for the first time in months. I went to bed and slept the sleep of the saved and thankful, he later writes. His staff find this remarkable. Britain's position has not materially improved. The Royal Navy is still overstretched. The Luftwaffe still bombs British cities. German submarines still sink convoys. Yet Churchill sleeps peacefully, because the strategic picture has fundamentally shifted. On December 8, Roosevelt addresses a joint session of Congress. Yesterday, December 7, 1941, a date which will live in infamy, the United States of America was suddenly and deliberately attacked by naval and air forces of the Empire of Japan. Congress erupts in applause. Within an hour, America declares war on Japan. But Churchill waits for the other shoe to drop. Will Hitler declare war on America? Or will the European and Pacific conflicts remain separate? Churchill knows Hitler is not obligated to act. The tripartite pact between Germany, Italy, and Japan is defensive. It does not require Germany to declare war if Japan is the aggressor. Hitler could stay out, forcing Roosevelt to focus solely on Japan while Britain continues fighting Germany alone. But on December 11, Adolf Hitler makes his second catastrophic blunder of 1941. Speaking before the Reichstag, Hitler declares war on the United States. It is an act of breathtaking strategic stupidity. Hitler is not obligated to do this. America's isolationists would likely prevent Roosevelt from declaring war on Germany while fighting Japan. But Hitler's megalomania and contempt for American military power override rational calculation. He believes Germany's U-boats will starve Britain before American troops arrive. He believes the Wehrmacht will crush the Soviet Union before American industry matters. He is wrong on both counts. Churchill receives the news with quiet satisfaction. The pieces are now in place. Britain, America, and the Soviet Union, three vast empires with combined populations exceeding 400 million, are united against Germany, Italy, and Japan. The arithmetic of victory is now undeniable. But the human cost is only beginning. Pearl Harbor kills 2,403 Americans in 2 hours. The USS Arizona, blown apart by a magazine explosion, sinks in 9 minutes. Sailors trapped below decks hammer on bulkheads as water rushes in. Some survive in air pockets for days, their desperate tapping heard by rescue crews who cannot reach them. They drown slowly, in darkness, waiting for help that never comes. Churchill understands this cost. He has sent British soldiers to die at Dunkirk, in North Africa, over the skies of London. He will send more to die at Singapore, where 80,000 British and Commonwealth troops will surrender to Japan in February 1942, the worst military defeat in British history. But Churchill believes the cost is justified. We shall never surrender, he has promised Parliament. Pearl Harbor makes that promise achievable. History will judge Winston Churchill's reaction to Pearl Harbor as coldly pragmatic. He mourns the American dead, but he celebrates the strategic transformation their deaths produce. It is the calculus of total war, a calculus Churchill accepts without sentimentality. He has been fighting for British survival for 2 years. Pearl Harbor finally gives him the tools to fight for victory. The decision America makes in the aftermath of Pearl Harbor, to pursue a Germany-first strategy despite being attacked by Japan, is Churchill's greatest diplomatic triumph. At the Arcadia Conference in Washington 3 weeks later, Churchill and Roosevelt agree, defeat Nazi Germany before focusing full resources on Japan. It is not the obvious choice. American public rage is directed at Japan, not Germany. But Churchill argues persuasively that Germany is the greater threat, and Roosevelt agrees. This decision shapes the next 4 years. American troops land in North Africa in 1942, Sicily in 1943, Normandy in 1944. The industrial output of Detroit and Pittsburgh buries the Third Reich under bombers, tanks, and artillery shells. Germany surrenders in May 1945. Japan follows in August after atomic bombs incinerate Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Churchill's calculation on December 7, 1941, proves correct. Pearl Harbor does not mean American defeat. It means Axis annihilation. But the cost is staggering. 60 million people die in World War II. 27 million Soviets. 6 million Jews. Hundreds of thousands of British, American, Chinese, and Japanese civilians. Pearl Harbor is the catalyst that transforms a European war into a global conflagration. Churchill welcomes this transformation because he believes Britain cannot survive otherwise. He is probably right. The moment at Chequers, when Churchill smiles upon hearing of Pearl Harbor, reveals the brutal truth of wartime leadership. Churchill does not celebrate American deaths. He celebrates American entry into the war. The distinction matters, but only philosophically. The sailors drowning aboard the Arizona are no less dead because their sacrifice serves a strategic purpose. Churchill's words that night, "We have won the war," are both prophetic and premature. The war will continue for 3.5 more years. Millions more will die. But the fundamental equation has shifted irreversibly. Pearl Harbor transforms World War II from a war Britain might lose into a war the Allies cannot lose. Churchill understands this instantly. It is why he sleeps peacefully on the night of December 7, 1941. Not because the killing is over, but because he finally knows how it ends.